Hello everybody. I've had quite a few messages from people asking me what I am sowing in October. So here is my list. It's not set in stone, but here is my list of what I plan to sow in October to grow mainly over winter for spring. Some maybe not. Maybe a bit earlier. If the weather stays like it does and it's as mild as it is, we might get things a little bit earlier. So I've got my list in front of me of what I am sowing. So let's start. The first thing that I am going to do another sowing. So I try to kind of sow, obviously I sow on Moonphase days, but every kind of week in October, there's something else that I'm going to add to the list. So in the kind of first week of October, the first thing that I'm going to do is I am going to sow another batch of cauliflowers. And it is the one that I sow this time of year is called Orkney. It's an F1. It is a great cauliflower. It overwinters really well. So I've already got 2 trays out there of cauliflowers. The reason why I'm sowing another batch is because I've got this woolly aphid problem. So these are just extras. So what I'm going to do with these I'm going to germinate them, and then I'm going to just put them probably in about 15 centimeter pots, and I'm going to overwinter them in the greenhouse, either here at home or I will overwinter them over in the greenhouse on the allotment. And then they will then get planted out in late winter, early spring as my spaces open up when I start harvesting stuff. So that's the first thing I'm going to do. The second thing I'm going to do, and let's stay with flowers, is I am going to now start sowing my favorite Calabrese, which is called Marathon. It's an F1 as well. I fiddled around with sowing another Calabrese, and in the end I didn't like it. This is the best. I find this is my favorite and the best Calabrese. It's very fast. You get very good sized heads, and it's a slow bolt. So I am going to also do, by the way, I'll just tell you how many I'm going to do of each. I'm only going to do about 6 cauliflowers. These Calabrese, I'm going to be doing 12 Calabrese because this is my first lot of Calabrese. Again, I am going to overwinter these again in the greenhouses, in pots. And again, as space opens up, I will be planting these out. So that's my 2 lot of flowers. And this is all kind of happening at the beginning of October. As I go through the Moonphase days in my videos, I'll give you the exact dates of when I'm actually going to do it. What else? So let's go. Next thing that I'm going to start is I'm going to do some broad beans. Now I usually save all of my broad beans, but I came across a packet that I've got of broad beans, and they're still viable, yes. So my favorite broad bean is Aquadulce, and it's actually Aquadulce Claudia. That's my favorite because you get really, really big, long, broad beans and lots of beans within it. So I'm not going to overwinter them in the garden. I find that here in Lincolnshire, we get really heavy winds and it just rips everything apart in the winter. We might even get a mild winter, who knows. But so the first succession of these broad beans for a very, very early harvest, I'm hoping to harvest these in April. I am going to sow these and then put them in one of my greenhouses, and they will I'm thinking that I will probably put these in the greenhouse over the allotment because I can plant straight into the soil there, and I will get an early harvest of broad beans. So that's what I'm going to do this year with my broad beans. I've done it before and it does work quite well. The other thing that I'm going to do early on is I am going to plant some peas just for pea shoots as well. And a really good variety for pea shoots is a pea called Anubis. I got mine from Dobie's, and they're really good. So and they're good because they're really tasty as well. So that is my first lot of peas that I'm going to grow. And again, they're kind of like a microgreen. So I'm only going to have pea shoots. I put them in a big tray and they go in the greenhouse. Nice little bit of kind of extra bits for salad. So that's that. The other thing that I'm going to do in the first kind of week or so is I'm going to put in another load of spinach as well, the Giant Winter. Giant Winter is the spinach that I grow this time of year. This later sowing, it won't be harvested much in winter. This is going to be later on towards spring, just before it goes to seed. I mentioned earlier that Giant Winter spinach is a great spinach for winter because it grows throughout the whole of winter, whereas the other spinaches don't really. But as soon as the spring starts, it goes to seed. So I'm going to do 60 of those. Do you like my spinach? Okay, so that's kind of the first week. Then as we move on into the second kind of week, you could, if you want to, you could actually sow some red onion sets if you want to. Now I had some sent to me, so I'm going to try and put them in. The thing is with red onion sets is they are quite unreliable. It depends on the conditions. You really need to have under 10 degrees for them to do really well. So they like to go to seed, but sometimes you can get a crop out of them. So if you want to, you can put some in. And I'm going to do that kind of like in the second midi part of October. It all depends on the weather because the weather is actually very mild at the moment. So I'll see whether I do that. The other thing that can start to be planted out now, and I've left my bulb out there, is soft neck garlic. So with the garlic, I save my own garlic, so I use that. But if you do want to have some varieties that are very good soft neck garlic, go for something like Provence Wight. Solent Wight is also very, very good. Extra early Wight is very good. And I also do some elephant garlic, but that's not a soft neck. That goes to scapes. So again, with my garlic, last year I had 2 beds of garlic, but I don't really have beds coming up. So I might actually plant them here, there and everywhere. And I'm going to start with my soft neck garlic because I want quite an early harvest next year. So that's your garlic. Might put about 20 of those in. Did I say how many onion sets? No, I didn't. I don't think it matters too much. All right. Towards mid-October, I am going to sow again another load of Calabrese, and that will be the marathon again. Another 12 plants I'm going to sow. So again, they are going to be overwintered in my greenhouse and in pots. I like to have quite a lot of Calabrese. Then I also start with another lettuce. So this lettuce, this is a very, very late sowing of lettuce, and it's going to be planted out in November as I start to kind of clear beds. These lettuces are really, really good for kind of early spring. All right, so let's go. This is the first one that I love, and it is called Maravilla de Verano. This is a great lettuce going into spring. It kind of overwinters really well. If I'm looking down, I'm looking at my list. It's a really lovely thing to have early spring. So I'm hoping to harvest these in kind of late March. That's when I'm hoping to harvest them. I should actually say when I'm hoping to harvest all my stuff. As I go along now, I'll say when I'm hoping to harvest all this. That's my first lettuce. The other lettuce that I really like this time of year, and I absolutely love this lettuce. It was so good last year. It is called Navarra, and it's an oak leaf, a red oak leaf. It is absolutely fantastic. Again, I'm going to do 20 of the Verano. I'm going to do 20 of these Navarras as well. And again, I'm hoping to harvest these in late March. These are going to go in beds, as I said, as I clear the beds. So that's that one. The other thing that we're going to start is I am going to do an October sowing of another one of my favorite spinach. Now, this is a little bit of an experiment. And this is the red one. This is called Rubino. It's an F1. This is the one that I put into the garden not long ago, and it's gone to seed. So that's why I've pulled it all out, and I'm doing the giant winter in there. So this one, this is going to be planted out. So I'm going to sow mid-October. I will plant them out in mid-November, and then I will harvest the small leaves initially. And then in spring, this continues to grow. This one doesn't bolt like the giant winter, and then I'll have larger leaves. That's what I did this year, winter and this year. Let me just have a look. This one, Red Rubino, has taken over from Red Kitten. There used to be a variety called Red Kitten, and I loved it. So this is really good. This is the next best thing. So again, I am going to do about 60 of these, and I'm hoping to harvest these in early March. That's my Rubino. If you want to, totally up to you, when you take all your tomatoes out of your pots, you could actually put some garlic in and then have some green garlic early in the year. You harvest it in May. That's something that you could think about. So green garlic is garlic that is used in the green stage. It doesn't actually bulb up into anything, and you just kind of get one long big thing. It looks a bit like a leek. That's green garlic. Then, okay, so towards the end, 3/4 of the way through October, I then start with my next lot, my second succession of broad beans, exactly the same way. Okay, these follow, these are going to be sown in modules, and just because I don't like little nibbles, people, things nibbling on them. And again, I'm not going to sow many. I'm only going to sow about a dozen or so. I'm hoping then to harvest these in mid-May. Another lot of broad beans, and we're nearly finished. I continue sowing my peas for little microgreens for pea shoots, and I'm hoping to harvest all of these in October. So they happen very, very fast. Get them in. So these are going to go in October, and within about, I would say, within about 2 weeks, you've got little pea shoots, which is absolutely fantastic. Okay, so there's 2 more things that I want to talk about. So at the end of October, I am going to sow some carrots, which is a little bit odd, but I have found a variety that works so beautifully in the cold weather. And this variety is called Napoli. It's an F1. I want to actually harvest these in May. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to sow these into a trough or into a big container, and they're going to go into the greenhouse, and then they get moved outside kind of in April time, and then they should be harvested in May. And they are absolutely fantastic, Napoli. And then finally, one last sowing of spinach, Rubino. That's what I'm going to do in October. So, yes, if you want to know the varieties, what I'll do is I'll write all of the varieties of all my seeds down below, and happy sowing. See you later.